You are tired. Maybe you don't even know exactly why, but you feel it. You feel like you are always carrying an invisible weight, as if it were your obligation to keep everything in balance. Please, everyone, avoid conflicts, always be kind, understanding, polite. You learned early on that being a good person was the right thing to do, that the good win in the end, that if you are kind, others will reciprocate, that it's enough to be fair, honest, humble, and the world will recognize that. But what if I told you that all of this is a lie, a comfortable lie, taught to keep you well-behaved, predictable, controllable? How many times have you stayed silent to keep the peace? How many times have you erased yourself just to avoid disappointing anyone? How many times have you let someone disrespect you, take advantage of you, and still you smiled, said, "It's all good," swallowed your tears, anger, pride, in the name of a supposed virtue that only made you be ignored? Listen carefully. The world does not reward the nice guys. The world rewards the strategic ones. If you are here, it's because you have already felt this in your skin. You have been frustrated, trying to be the nice guy, the good person, the understanding friend. And now you are starting to realize that the more you try to be accepted, the less you are respected. The more you give in, the more they demand. The more you give, the less you are valued. And that's where Machiavelli comes in. Machiavelli was not the devil that many say. He was perhaps the first to tell the naked truth about how power works. He understood something that most people refuse to accept, that pure morality, detached from reality, is a trap. That being seen as good is not the same as being effective, fair, or worthy. In this video, we are going to talk, without filters, without masks, about why you need to stop trying to be a good person. And no, that doesn't mean becoming someone cruel or cold. It means waking up, awakening from the childish dream that the world is fair and that it's enough to be virtuous, to be rewarded. We will expose the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. As long as you are trying to please everyone, you will be in their hands, a hostage of your own kindness. And if you are already tired of being used, ignored, discarded, maybe it's time to change, to learn from Machiavelli what they never taught you, and finally take control of your life. Ready? Then let's get started. Do you still believe that the world values good people? Look around you. Who are the most admired? Who holds leadership positions? Who earns respect, influence, space? Are they the most generous, the most compassionate, the most just? Or are they the most strategic, the most assertive, the hardest to manipulate? The truth is brutal. The world is not governed by kindness, but by utility. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He didn't write The Prince to teach how to be malicious. He wrote to show how the game's played. And one of the bitterest lessons he gives us is this: being good is not enough. In many cases, being good is the quickest way to be discarded. You can spend your life being loyal, kind, and understanding. You can give your best, help others without expecting anything in return. But the day you are no longer useful, you will be forgotten, replaced, silenced, and the worst part, without a shred of guilt from the other side. Because the world does not measure your worth by your morality. It measures by what you deliver, by the influence you have, by the impact you make. Have you noticed that the nice guys are always chasing after, always justifying, explaining themselves, trying to prove they are deserving? Meanwhile, those who set boundaries, who say no, who present themselves clearly, they are respected. They have a voice. They have space. And why? Because blind kindness is seen as weakness. Because those who never confront never threaten. And those who do not threaten are not taken seriously. They are seen as a resource, not as a presence, as a tool, not as an individual. You can kill yourself trying to please, but if you do not represent power or consequence, no one will hesitate to use you. It's harsh, I know, but it's the reality. Machiavelli said that a leader should not seek to be loved, but to be feared, if forced to choose between the two. And what did he mean by that? That true respect arises from the perception that you are someone with the power to act, that you cannot be trampled without reaction, that you're not a replaceable piece in someone else's game. And this applies to you too. If you continue living to be pleasant, you will continue to be seen as someone easy to discard, not because you are a bad person, but because the world does not reward those who fade away. It's time to understand where this unhealthy desire to be accepted all the time comes from. Because behind your kindness, there is something deeper. Something that may have been sabotaging you for years. And that is exactly what we will explore now. In the next part, we will dive into the psychological roots of those who live trying to please, and discover why, often, being nice is just a disguised form of fear. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. You weren't born wanting to please everyone. That was taught to you. And worse, it was conditioned. Since childhood, you learned that being accepted came at a price. Giving up parts of yourself. Forced smiles, swallowed desires, silenced opinions, all in the name of approval. From "don't do that, it's ugly," to "be nice," to "don't respond," to "you're so polite." And so, little by little, you molded yourself to fit what others expected. But what no one told you is that pleasing all the time is an emotional trap. A psychological prison built with poisoned compliments and punishments disguised as education. You learned that if you pleased others, you would be loved, and that if you showed anger, set boundaries, or were selfish, you would be rejected. So you did what any mind would do to survive. You adapted. The problem is that this adaptation turned into submission. Today, you no longer know how to say no without feeling guilty. You feel responsible for the well-being of others, even if it destroys you inside. You get frustrated, but keep it to yourself. You get disappointed, but forgive too quickly. You exhaust yourself trying to maintain an image that others expect. Not because it is your essence, but because it is what you learned gave you security. But here's a reality check. This is not kindness. This is fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of not being loved. Fear of being seen as a bad person. Fear of being who you really are, with desires, with anger, with boundaries, with a voice. And this fear has turned you into someone who sabotages themselves, someone who hides behind socially accepted but emotionally destructive behavior. And the most tragic part, you don't even realize you're doing this. You call it empathy, but it's fear of confrontation. You call it understanding, but it's fear of abandonment. You call it kindness, but it's fear of not being enough. Your kindness is, in fact, a mask, an unconscious strategy to avoid the pain of rejection. But this mask has a very high cost. It suffocates your authenticity, your power, and your dignity. And if you don't take off this mask, it will stick to your skin. It will become your identity. And one day, you will look in the mirror and no longer know who you truly are. But there is a way back. And to find it, we need to learn from someone who understood the power of image, perception, and strategy like no one else, Machiavelli. In the next part, we will get straight to the point. What the prince can teach us about how to stop being a hostage to our need to appear good and start being respected for who we really are.